Think about Draco Malfoy not as a mustache-twirling cartoon, but as a scared kid in a fancy uniform. That's already a big step, because films, especially big franchise films, love labels, hero, villain, comic relief, and Draco is boxed as the antagonist before he even opens his mouth in Philosopher's Stone. He walks into that first corridor and all the cues are set, the strut, the sneer, the hair. But pause. Listen to what he actually says. You'll soon find out some wizarding families are better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. Two things in that line. One, the certainty of an ideology learned. Two, the cruelty that's performative. He's reciting a doctrine he's been fed. It's a script he's been handed, and he tries it on like a uniform. Which is exactly why our job is to look for the seams. From the beginning, Draco's power comes from pedigree, not personal conviction. He brags about his bloodline. Pure blood this, mad blood that, but he rarely truly initiates harm alone. Watch his interactions. When he says, "My father will hear about this," it's not thunderous menace so much as a kid leaning on a scarier adult to do the dirty work. Think about it. What's scarier, the bully who hits you, or the bully who points and has 10 adults come running with wands? The movies give us a crucial line in Chamber of Secrets when Lucius Malfoy says, "I have come to help you, headmaster." It is drenched in patronizing superiority, and Draco isn't the voice of that, he's the echo. And here's the thing. There are tons of moments where Draco could have crossed the line and didn't. Not because he was noble, at least not by the story's measure, but because fear and uncertainty held him back. Let's walk the steps. In Philosopher's Stone, look at the duel scene. His first instinct is to show off. He's cruel, yes, but he doesn't follow through with permanent damage. He taunts, he provokes, but he never cold-bloodedly injures someone. The camera lingers on his smirk, his performative cruelty. But it's important to note the difference between posturing and purpose. When he tells Harry, "You'll soon find out some wizarding families are better than others," he's asserting an identity built on a foundation he didn't lay. In Chamber of Secrets, you're expecting full-on aggression. Instead, we get more posturing and panic later, when the stakes rise. When his father slaps down the broken wand business into play, Draco isn't the mastermind, Lucius is. And Draco's reaction, the way he looks around, the way he relies on his father's intimidation, shows a child's condition to survive by aligning with power. That scene gives us the line that matters. Draco's behavior is an act meant to secure his place. It's survival theater. Half-Blood Prince is where things get ugly, and paradoxically, where we get the clearest glimpse of Draco as someone being crushed by expectation. "I don't want to kill anyone," he admits. Though not in word-for-word lines, the film gives us images and tone, the hollow look, the slamming doors, the whispers in dark corridors. Think about the sequence where he fixes the vanishing cabinet. This is the moment the filmmakers want you to recoil. He's working for Death Eaters, tampering with Hogwarts safety. But the movie intentionally frames it as a boy under duress. There are silent scenes where he walks through the castle, breathing heavy, and he isn't shouting with urgency. He's avoiding being seen. The line that hits like a fist is when he returns to his parents and tries to embody confidence he doesn't feel. The words around him are blunt: "You will succeed. You will get it done." Who is giving those orders? Not Draco's conscience. A parent, a system. And then there is the corridor in Half-Blood Prince where he confronts Dumbledore. Not with wand raised in righteous fury, but with a trembling hand, voice cracking when under pressure. The film gives us a small line that lands hard. After everything, when a guard or Death Eater demands he act, his hesitation is the human sound. Think about it. The camera watches him in close-up, not to exult in villainy, but to make us watch a child being aged by fear. It's important to say this plainly. It's not that Draco is innocent. He's complicit. But the compulsion is not ideological zeal. It's coercion and family pressure. The pinnacle of ambiguity is that snowball moment during the Battle of the Astronomy Tower. He stands at a threshold where he could tip into outright monstrosity. He doesn't. He seizes an impossible order and attempts it. But then he freezes. He hands the job off. He tries to abdicate responsibility, and in that pause is 1,000 conversations about agency. "You didn't do it," we whisper to him. But the film's other line, the one that breaks him, is the knowledge that his mother and father are under threat, and that success means their safety. Think about the phrase, "do what must be done." That never issued from Draco's mouth on his own terms. It was grafted onto him. Prisoner of Azkaban gives an odd snapshot. Draco as a bully light, petty and mean, yes, but also small-time, adolescent. He mocks, he struts, he imitates cruelty because that's the costume Slytherin handed him. Listen to a crisp bit of his dialogue. "After all we've done for you, Potter, it's an entitlement line offered for effect, a demand for recognition he learned at the breakfast table. He's not building a philosophy, he's demanding credit for a legacy he's been taught to believe authentic," which is precisely why the film refuses to make him a true ideological villain. He can't be, because his convictions wobble when real danger appears. Let's not forget the lighter but revealing moments. In Order of the Phoenix, his presence in Umbridge's classroom, his smirk when Dolores Umbridge lapses into obliviousness, the way he parades his family's supposed superiority. These are cues of a social climber, not a cold-blooded killer. He performs cruelty to maintain status. A key line is when he says to Harry, "You're a prefect," with that mocking tone. He is measuring power by position. That's not the same as philosophical hatred, it's insecurity behind a mask. And in the Deathly Hallows, where you'd expect a climactic reveal of evil intention, the films instead give us two crucial things: fear and surrender. The Malfoy Manor sequences are a masterclass in coercion. Draco is shoved into a role, and when it culminates in the presence of Voldemort and the Death Eaters, what does he do? He looks defeated. There's a tiny line, a short, choked, almost wordless sound, when he's ordered to identify someone, and his body says everything. The movie gives us a telling image later, Draco creeping through the room where his parents are. A man who's familiar with dominance but now is dominated. That's not the posture of a man who chose evil, it's the posture of a man who was chosen by it. Now, a lot of people point to his final duel in the courtyard and say, "Aha, he embraced it," except he doesn't. He fights because the world is on fire and every teen in Hogwarts is terrified. But look at Harry's face when they disarm each other. There's no gloating from Draco, no triumphant sneer. There's shock, confusion, and the mechanical motions of someone acting when everything around him demands it. And the line I always come back to is the blunt simplicity of his goodbye. He doesn't celebrate. He disappears from any final glorification. The camera doesn't invite us to cheer. One of the film's quietest and most revealing moments is in the epilogue. Post-war, older, quieter, Draco is not walking through life with a scarlet letter of evil. He looks relieved and maybe tired. When we see him at King's Cross with his family some years later, there's an oddness in the way he avoids eye contact, the way he exchanges pleasantries without venom. If villainy had been his chosen creed, would he be so muted? Would the match be snuffed so easily? The narrative gives us a man who wants to fade back into safety. So where does that leave us? If we assemble the evidence, the lines he parrots, the moments he freezes, the orders he obeys, a picture emerges of a child trapped. He is the product of a system where identity and power are inherited like a suit of armor, and where violence is outsourced to the adults who taught him those rules. It's tempting to reduce him to evil because that's a clean story, but real human stories are messier. They're made of fear, thrifted cruelty, learned prejudice, and survival. Let's be precise with dialogue again, because the films give us keys. When Draco sneers in Malfoy Manor, when he says, "We have the right to defend our family," or any such line, the words are legalistic, defensive. It's not a manifesto. His language is always property-based. My family, my name, my place. He is guarding a legacy rather than building a cause. Contrast that with Voldemort's speeches about power and supremacy. Draco never speaks in abstractions about destiny. He speaks in narrow terms about family and self-preservation. That's not the rhetoric of an ideologue who believes in an idea. It's the speak of someone who fears losing everything. And here's the clincher. There are moments when he chooses not to act maliciously. He doesn't throw a killing curse from sheer hatred. He hesitates when a true opportunity for gratuitous harm presents itself. In the chest-beating moment where a Death Eater might have killed a defenseless opponent, Draco doesn't step forward with malice. That's not oversight. It's storycraft. The filmmakers ask us to watch his poses like pages in a diary. Think of it like a slow-motion unmasking. The arrogance is a mask, and underneath is a kid who wants to breathe without fear. The most human, heartbreaking line, even if it's not in neat quotation marks, is the look he gives when confronted by the monstrous consequences of his family's choices. It's a silent admission. I was raised into this. I didn't write the rules. Which begs the hard question, can we excuse him? No. Compassion isn't absolution. He hurts people, he mocks, he makes life harder for others, but context matters. If our job is to understand, not to absolve, then Draco's story is a cautionary tale about inherited prejudices and how a child's moral compass can be warped by parents and culture. He becomes a living argument for the idea that monsters are sometimes manufactured, not born. And finally, the greatest cinematic cruelty is how the franchise lets him fade. He isn't tortured, he isn't publicly executed. He simply exits with a small human face. There's a scene in the later films where he watches Harry and grits his jaw. You can see the calculus, continue the performance, or step out of it. He steps away. That, to me, is the crux of the argument. His last notable action isn't triumph or surrender to evil. It's the quiet decision to survive. It's the body language of a man who chose, finally, to stop pretending he loved the cause he was forced to wear. So when someone says Draco was a villain, reply, he was a child molded by a poisonous upbringing, given orders he couldn't refuse, and more often than not, paralyzed by fear when the world demanded cruelty. There's culpability, certainly, but villainy implies a chosen path. Draco's path was chosen for him. He wore the crest of cruelty because it was given to him at birth. What we should take away isn't a sentimental defense, but a sharper lens. Look at the people around him who pushed him toward darkness. Watch the adults who made threats and handed down mantras. Listen to the lines he repeats. You can hear the phrases of a family trying to corral their child into loyalty. In the end, Draco Malfoy isn't the cartoon enemy. He's the tragic byproduct of an ideology that chews up children and spits out complicity. That's not a satisfying hero arc. It's messier, it's more human, and it's, I think, far more interesting. So next time you hear that first sneer in Philosopher's Stone, don't just laugh. Listen. Hear the echo of a home that taught him the words. And when he freezes in the face of real horror, remember that sometimes the scariest thing is not the one who raises their wand with malice, but the one who raises theirs because someone else told them to. Draco was given a role in a story he didn't ask to be in. The films, with their close-ups, their slipped lines, their silences, quietly make his case. He was more victim than villain.